Loving God, as we come together tonight for the city of Waterville, we pause to ask you to be with us and guide our way. May your spirit of peace surround all we say and do this evening. We ask for your strength to do what is best for the good of Waterville. Lord God, as servants of your people, we pray that you grant us a share of your wisdom. Amen.
Please rise. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Bruno?
Here.
Mrs. Bruno?
Here.
Mr. Fry?
Here.
Mayor Rose?
Here.
Mr. Roach?
Here.
Mr. Pedro?
Here.
Mrs. Duncan?
Here.
Thank you. First, we have approval of minutes from a regular council meeting January 28th, 2019. We need a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Are there any changes or corrections to the minutes or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Next, we have citizens' comments, and I don't have any, so are there any out there? Nope. Next, we'll go to staff reports. Our administrator, Mr. Gokenauer.
Thank you, Mayor. I have nothing to add to my report that isn't agenda specific.
Thank you. Any questions?
I just wondered on the, John, on your report, you referenced some building code violations. Is that anything serious to be concerned about, or?
Other than the property owner has to get a variance or remove 6 feet off their back porch. So, whichever they want to do, but I suspect they'll apply for a variance. Yeah.
Okay. Nothing hazardous then? There weren't any hazards or anything?
No, no. They just built their house a little too big for the lot. So.
Yeah, okay.
Any other questions for the administrator? Seeing none, our law director.
No report tonight, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Dombey. Our finance director.
Okay. Council.
Oh, sorry, I'm used to you being out there. Okay. Switch roles.
Council has a copy of the finance report. We ended the month of December and 2018 with an ending balance of $5,795,877. Our investment income for 2018 was $43,973. The RETA income tax reports, December's collection was $199,657. We ended the year with a year-to-date collection of $3,431,459. That was approximately $98,921 more than we collected in 2017. We were a little bit short of our projection for 2018. We collected 98.95% of what we projected we would collect, so we were about 1% off our collection estimate for 2018. That was about $36,000. As I mentioned at previous meetings, the state of Ohio also has started collecting net profit tax, income tax, and that is dependent on the taxpayer if they can opt into their tax collection system. And for 2018, we had $18,396 that was collected by the state of Ohio net profit tax, which we received. So that dropped our income tax estimate. The difference was less than 1/2 of 1%. So we were pretty much on the money in terms of our income tax projection for 2018. For 2019, we're estimating a 1% increase, and that would be approximately $3,502,000. And so we'll see what we can do there. January's collection from RETA was $248,776.
Thank you. So on the, we were about 3% on the actual 2.97. And then what you're saying too, when now that they're collecting some of the net profit income at the state level, that isn't on any of these reports, right? What's collected there.
Right.
So should we be adding that now that it's a change?
Yeah, I thought I would
for
add
the next finance director.
add another report there. I guess I anticipated that the net profit tax would go down on the RETA side, but at the end of 2018, we actually, there was a significant, about a $80,000 difference between our net profit collection in 17 to 18. So the state hasn't seemed to have taken a bite out of our net profit collection yet. I was anticipating that maybe the net profit would start to go down as the state collected more of that money, but last year that wasn't the case. But I will include a separate report for net profit, just so we kind of know that our total collection is what it is.
So that should be in our number, sort of the budget side when we look at if we're close.
Yeah.
So,
The end of the year budget, the last quarter of last year, you'll have the you'll have the RETA
right.
tax collection information. You'll also have the state net profit collection information in that.
Any
budget.
indication on the RETA, on the net profit? I know we don't have a lot of information on that, but that's a pretty big jump from the previous years. I mean, good news, good
Right,
economic times,
right.
that's all we know.
Yeah, other than, I can't disclose
Yeah, I know,
any tax
yeah.
information of any of our taxpayers, but we did have some big taxpayers that, for whatever reason, their net profits were lower in 17, and they seem to be picking up. It seems to be picking up in 18, and then, the withholding tax is also doing better in 18 in comparison to 17, and ironically, it's our individual taxpayers that are, the number is decreased from 18 to 17. So there's a little bit of a reduction there, so,
That's interesting,
Yeah.
right?
so
No real
why
trend
that is. Yeah, I
on
don't
RETA,
know.
right?
Yeah.
Any other questions for our finance director, Mr. Gokinen? Any update? We're still interviewing for the finance director. So, any new news?
We've completed, I guess, 3/4 of our background check, and the last part is probably gonna come this week, and hopefully we'll have someone to present to council at the next meeting.
Great. All right, any finance questions, that information? All right, seeing none, we'll go to our treasurer.
Senior Mayor, we have a couple minor reconciliations with the system conversion over.
Oh, yes. Okay, thank you. Our police chief?
Evening. The only thing I really have to report tonight is we're still working on the Lexipol conversion of our manuals. That's actually coming along pretty well. I've been very good at sharing the misery, as it were, but at the same time getting buy-in from my people because they're able to edit these things. And we're finding that we've been doing a lot of things right, but then we found a couple of aha moments of things that we could have done better, so that's really helping us kind of fine-tune things. Still got a ways to go, but as my other knee is scheduled for Monday, next Monday, I'll have about 6 weeks at home to really tear into it. So, but it's coming along fairly well. That's all I have.
Thank you. Any questions for the chief? All right, thank you and good luck next week. Next we have our fire chief.
Good evening. You all have a copy of my report. Only a few things to add to it. On a good note, we've had a promotion in the fire department. So Lieutenant Dave Beekes has been promoted to captain to help build an attrition model so that we can get some staffing levels increased. On the staffing note, we have, starting tomorrow, 2 new part-time employees. Another paid per call employee will start tomorrow. We have 1 part-time in the progress, and I have 2 more applications that were turned in yesterday. So we are currently working the staffing issue to try to increase employees. We're currently working on 3 different grants, BWC grant, a firehouse subs grant, and a state fire marshal grant. Captain Beekes is taking care of 1, Captain Grogan's taking care of 1, and I'll be taking care of the other. We also found out that we have Lexipol also, so we'll be working soon to install that at our fire department also. And lastly, our switch to electronic reporting is complete as far as reporting. We're still having some trouble switching completely over 100% due to some pay scale differences at the moment, but we are working through that, so just bear with us on some of the reports. We're getting there, just some fine tuning. And that's all I have this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I had a couple questions.
Sure.
First of all, it looked like you met with quite a few part-time employees and type of people interested, so that's great. What's the number that we have with like the 2 new ones? Like, do you have a total number?
Yes,
part-time?
after the 3 new ones start tomorrow, we'll be at 30.
At 30?
Yes,
Good.
and with the one in progress, that'll bring us to 31. We will be losing a couple of people to Toledo Fire. They have expressed that they do not want to leave permanently. One of them turned in a leave of absence request just till he's out of the academy and would like to come back. Another one has expressed the interest to turn in the leave of absence, has not turned it in yet. The third one did resign, but said after he's complete with his academy, he's getting married. So he would like to wait till after he gets married, and then he would like to come back to the city.
That would be good. Any other questions from council about the fire? I thought I read in here somewhere, and here it is, January 30th. Worked with Public Works and J&R Contracting to heat the Bay Area to prevent freezing. I thought that floor was heated when that was built.
The floor is heated.
Okay.
It's boiler heat.
Okay.
What was happening was this was the first time in the 17 years that the station's been built that we had negative
Minus.
temperatures with sustained 30-mile-an-hour winds. What was happening was our front doors were getting blasted. We faced direct west.
Okay.
We were hit so hard with incoming air that we had a wind chill factor in the bay because it was just blasting the doors so hard. We had snow coming in. Our bay dropped substantially. Public Works, Kenny, his crew did a great job to help us out, keep our apparatus from freezing. And J&R Contracting, for the cost of fuel, brought over an industrial tandem axle heater
To heat
help
it
heat
in
the
there.
bay.
So that was just when it was a minus 35 below.
Yeah.
Yeah. That station does face the worst direction possible because that's where our neighborhood is.
Our doors,
It's very
our
cold.
doors did sustain some damage from it.
I
We
think I
had to
had
have,
snow coming in. my
yeah.
door.
We did
Wind.
have to have quality overhead door out also to repair some repairs to the door after that wind damage, so.
Well, luckily that shouldn't happen a lot, but yeah. I caught that because I thought, wait a minute, we already had the heat in the floor, but that makes sense. Any other questions? All right, thank you. Next, we have our Public Works Director.
Thank you, Mayor Council. You have a copy of my report. There's one thing in here I want to mention real quick is I did provide you with the street evaluation review from last year. 3 of those have been dropped off this year: Kerr Street, Melody Lane, and a section of Rutledge Drive. I talked to the city engineer the other day, and we're going to plan, weather permitting, towards the end of the month to do our reevaluation, and then hopefully we'll have an updated list for you at the next meeting, or March meeting. Other than that, I don't know if I've said this before, but we did receive the CBG formula grant that we submitted, and that's for 3 ADA doors, handicap doors, for this doorway here, one at Public Works, and the meeting room at the fire station. So we're going to start the design on that once we, get an architect on. We pretty much got it laid out now, but there's some things that got to be polished a little bit. Other than that, I don't know if you heard or not, but we do have a ice storm warning up from 8 o'clock tonight till 8 o'clock in the morning. We're ready, but hopefully everybody drives safe out there and lets us do our job. That's all I have.
Thank you. Any questions?
I have a couple questions real quick. So, on the streets evaluation, when we have the city engineer come out and do that with you, are those billable hours for him or for output?
I believe so. Yeah.
Okay. And do you feel the need that he needs to be a part of that, or based on your
I
experience?
think
is
more on
that
the technical side. Yeah, there's certain things that we look at, like I mentioned before, but Yeah, he's more the technical side of it than I am. But I can look at it and I can tell different things that are wrong. But yeah, I think it's important that he's involved.
Okay. And then, second, so tonight, for instance, are there 2 guys out tonight then? You know, one in the big red truck, there'll be 3 out?
Yep.
Okay, so you have your 1 ton out,
And the
big one.
two larger trucks.
Okay, so
Yep.
3 of them will go out, okay.
Yeah.
All right,
And
that's
some
all.
of the stuff's been pre-treated already, so. And I did pre-treat this out here before the meeting tonight.
That's nice. So we
That-
don't fall down. Great
Yeah,
idea.
just in case.
You parked out there too, I'm sure.
Yeah.
It's supposed to start raining tomorrow then, right? So
Yeah,
it's gonna freeze and it's gonna
sometime
fog
around
and
10 o'clock, I guess, it's supposed to switch over to rain.
It's gonna be crazy, yeah.
Yeah, it is gonna be a crazy day.
No school tomorrow, I'm sure. Is there any update on the bridge? Has this weather affected the new bridge?
We've
The
got a
ice
meeting, we've
coming
got
down.
a progress meeting tomorrow, matter of fact. It's been limited. I see they were working today. When the ice jammed, covered up completely their causeway, and covered up, Pier 6 and 7, which are the ones that they were working on. So they were moving material around today, so we'll get an update to report on that at the next meeting in
Okay.
March, yeah.
Other questions, Mr. Blair? Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have communication from council members. Mrs. Duncan,
No report this evening.
Mr. Pedro,
No report?
Mr. Rosie,
No report, Mayor, thank you.
Mr. Fry,
No report this evening.
Mrs. Bruno.
Just, an interesting point, I was talking to one of my students today, and he just happened to mention that he hunts coyotes. And I thought, oh, interesting, I said, is that something you work with ODNR on? And he said, no, he goes, I just get contracted by like farmers and things like that. I said, well, how do you do it? He goes, well, we use pack dogs, and they find where the wolves are hiding, and then the dogs, go after them and break them up, and then they chase them around a truck, and then these kids, they sit there and they peck them off. They shoot them, they kill them, shoot to kill. So, and then they sell their pelts, and I thought that was fascinating. I said, well, Waterville may be contracting you. I'm not sure, but we'll.
Mr.
I
Dombey's
didn't know
taking-
that, so private individuals will go in and do this on private
didn't know
property.
that.
Right,
Yeah.
I was very intrigued. Just, interesting point.
You're right. Township you can. City
Yeah.
you can't.
Well, that's what they do.
Interesting.
Chase them to the township.
It's happening.
I think they live in the township by us, probably. Field behind us. Mr.
Yeah, this was not in Waterville.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
do not do this.
Well, I do think some of them, our neighborhood is right by the township, and I think that's where they tend to live along that tree line in the farm fields.
Yeah.
Just some of it's township. Mr. Bruno?
No reports tonight, Mayor.
All right, thank you. All right, we're gonna move to old business, and first we have resolution 60-18, a resolution approving and adapting the City of Waterville FY 2019 5-year capital planning program for all municipal funds and departments. And I thought council should take a look at this again, because we have this meeting and the next meeting, to approve it by the March 1st deadline. I know we talked about it a little bit, and then we waited for the operating budget. So this time, if we have any discussion or questions or changes or amendments, we should do those. Also, we have the department heads here, so it's a good day to do it. I can start out on one in particular. In light of our fire department and the study that we have going on, I know that previously we left the items in there, but this year I was looking at the additions to the total 5 years, and it was quite a bit, which kind of skews the money that we're setting aside. I know we don't have the final decision yet on the fire district, but I do think there are a couple items, especially in 2019, which becomes part of the operating budget, that we should probably take a look at postponing that. And that is only because, for all fire people listening, that is because we would like to see what's going to happen with this district. And we do have our previous administrator, he is working part-time for us, and that is pretty much his one job. So it might go a little faster than people think because we have somebody dedicated to that project. For instance, in 2019, I'm on page 13 for council, we have this chief vehicle with emergency warning devices. I do know that with the chief retiring and our interim chief that we have here, that truck is available that one would have replaced, and I think it's still in working order. And previous to that taking place, we received one of the SUVs from the police department, which I believe has been converted, has the fire logos on it.
Yes, that vehicle has.
Yeah. So I think we have a couple, and at this point, what we're looking for in the fire department, in light of the study going on, is the third position we had in the budget. So we currently have our interim chief as our only full-timer, and we are going to interview for the, hopefully, for the firefighter position, so we could have another full-time person. But the vehicles we have currently would suffice for that, especially, the report has been given back, but not the recommendation side. But I will hopefully have an update for you on that in the next meeting. So I would like to remove that totally, then depending on how things fall out, we can add that back into the 5-year if needed be. So, at this time, with the amount of staffing we have, what's going on, I think that one we need to hold off on. I have a question, and I will probably, you might as well go on up there, because I have a couple items, and I do know that you probably didn't, you're aware of this budget, but you didn't put it together, so believe me, I understand if you need to get some more information. On the replace 2 cardiac monitors right below that in 2019, those are actually, I guess I needed more information because I didn't have time to pull out my old budgets, but I know we did replace some type of monitors, but maybe these are within the ambulances, and I'm thinking of another type of monitor, but I don't know if you could go into that a little bit.
As far as replacement monitors, I'm not sure which ones, without, I guess, going back to find out what you're referring to on that. The 2 cardiac monitors that we have are currently manufactured by Philips.
Okay.
Philips, under FDA direction, has dropped their EMS program for pre-hospital providers. Their equipment is no longer serviceable, no longer parts, and no longer guaranteed to function. They've had a couple of recalls, and I know our department alone, I have some documentation that I can get you at a later date, all the way up to their corporate office. They had to send a engineer out to fix our 2 monitors. At one point, we had no cardiac monitors. We currently have them at the moment, but do not know how long that's going to last.
Is that actually the monitors that are in the ambulance?
That's the monitors in the ambulances right now that currently we use if there's a cardiac arrest.
Okay, and they're both the same age? Because it said
They're-
10
They
years.
were bought at the same time, yes.
The same, okay.
What year was that?
I would have to look that up. That was back
7, I
under
think.
Chief Parsons.
So is there any, pardon me, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Is there any, guarantee? Can we get a refund, a partial refund? Is there?
No, they're actually past their warranty period anyway. We have a service contract with them.
Okay.
The service contract would just end. They'll honor to the end of their service contract. They've sent us letters.
It says 2020 for service, but parts 2017.
They're 10
Yeah.
years old, Tim.
Thank you.
We've probably passed the point where, can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
And then that's on the 2 ambulances that go out first, I'm assuming, obviously.
Correct.
So-
Correct. These are actual 12-lead cardiac monitors. They're not the AEDs that you see like on the walls. Some of the police cruisers carry AEDs, automated defibrillating devices, and we carry those on engines and some things. You see them in airports, libraries. These are actually EKG monitors that actually read 12 different points of the heart. So this is a little more than just a shockable device.
Who manufactures these? Will they be around for a while?
Yes, we are looking at Physio Control. The county has been using Physio Control for as long as the county has taken over. We used to have Physio Control monitors all the way back to McCullough with Physio Control LifePak 5s. We went away from them when there was a grant opportunity. The city of Perrysburg bought some of the Philips monitors, and we joined in on that purchase agreement to try to save some money to upgrade. And they have served their purpose. I mean, they are 10 years old. We're recently just having a lot of problems with them, and with them saying that they're not going to make parts or service them anymore makes it very difficult.
Okay. Got a couple more.
Sure.
This is more a council one, probably the next one. We are putting aside dollar amounts for the fire engine pumper cash reserves. We've been doing that lately. I think we did it on the ambulance, which was a good thing. It was setting aside money as we went. Sort of our pre-funding of our pre-funding. But in light of what we have going on now too, we can continue to keep that on the books, or again, I think we may be able to take that out and wait and see what happens, and we can always, next year, we will redo this 5-year again. That's one idea I also had, so the vehicle in that one. For mobile dispatch terminals, okay, so I did have a question on this. The mobile dispatch terminals, can you give a little bit of description on that?
Yes, if it helps, they're exactly the same thing as what the PD is going through. They're the CAD devices for the county. That's how we get our runs, that's how we get supplemental information, and then that's how we can communicate back and forth without using the radio. So we can get things that we don't want to put over the air on there, and we can hit buttons to show en route when dispatch is busy, so it'll record for us. So when dispatch is overwhelmed, they've made announcements, use your CADs. Ours are outdated. The county will no longer use them, the same as the PD. So we have to upgrade, or else we'll fall off the county system on that.
So those we already have, we're replacing
We have
for-
one that we purchased when one of our other MDTs actually failed completely. It went kaput. The others we have are hanging on by a few threads at the moment. The county won't really service them because at the end of the year they won't even function, so they're kind of hit or miss. They're trying to prepare a lot of departments to put them on the system for all these new updates. They have to, countywide, everyone has to get it programmed. We have to buy them and get them programmed, so they're overwhelmed with that right now.
So even though we switched fire only, we do police through Lucas County, and it says on here no longer supported by Lucas County. Even though we use Springfield, we're still all on the same because it's the same county.
Correct.
Because
Yes.
Springfield's actually doing our dispatching, not like the description says Lucas County.
Correct.
We were doing Lucas County, but we swapped and we pay a fee to do Springfield. So no matter what we do, we still need those because Springfield will be.
Springfield
Doing the same
uses
thing.
the county system. So the computers, no matter who you dispatch with, are all, even Maumee uses, and they have their own dispatchers.
Right.
In Sylvania, they have their own dispatchers. They all use the county CAD.
Okay,
Because it's a county
the
run
explanation
program.
in there mentions Lucas, so it's kind of thrown me because
Yeah,
I know we
Lucas
don't use them.
County.
And just on side note on that, is there anything really going on between Springfield and Lucas County? Like there were some things in the news about dispatching or?
I have not heard anything from Chief Kuzno. I did talk to Chief Moore from Springfield today, and he said get a hold of Chief Kuzno because he didn't have a lot of information. Other than he said that they were looking to get out of dispatching.
Which I heard, which we switched because of Lucas County and fire, so everybody will be there then.
If they, I know that their initial talk was to try to send their dispatching to Toledo Fire.
Okay.
I don't know where we're at with that without speaking to Chief Kuzno.
Okay, it'd be good to get an update. I just read a news article, but no matter what happens in that process, we'll need the devices.
Yes.
Okay. All right, I'm almost done. Council, you can hop in here in a second. My first year had a lot of questions. The rescue task force outfits, are those mostly, we already have obviously turnout gear that we do just about every year to kind of keep that going. But those are new for us probably, and they're more like active shooter, and when we work with the police department so that you would be able to go in there if we have a problem. Is that a good description?
That is a very good description. Yes, we all took rescue task force training. Well, half the department did. Let me rephrase that. Half the department did. It was a 2-day training. We have to get the other half through. When we get the other half through, then we'll be qualified for that, so we can go ahead and take care of it ourselves if we need to go into a situation or respond mutual aid with someone else that may need help. But without that gear, all the training that we have completed would
Is it
go to
different
waste
in the
anyways.
fact that it's dealing with a shooter? That
Yes, it's what it is it's a Kevlar helmet similar to what the military has. It is ballistic rated vests, so similar to what the PD would have, something similar to that. It also covers emergency kits. So there's one kit that the individual would carry for themselves. So if they're shot, they can tourniquet themselves, bandage themselves. And then they carry 2 other kits along with a litter so that you can go in and grab people quickly and efficiently and get out. You don't want to do a whole lot of medical care inside a situation of that nature. So we're trained to go in, do immediate life-saving that takes a matter of a few seconds and get the person to the outside where you're in a safe environment into an ambulance. So that helps them carry that gear in so that it's there. Because carrying the big bulky gear that we have only makes you that much slower and more of a target.
Do the police already have that type of gear? Is that what they use already? Same stuff? Oh. All right, and fire hose replacement, I kind of had that underlined, but I know we replaced some of it like last year. Is that just sections we did and this is a whole replacement?
Well, last year when we tested hose, we lost a large portion of our hose. Some to date as far as compliance date, and some of it due to wear and tear, just being drug around. The synthetic jacket does wear out. So we are short some sections of hose currently. 2 of our apparatus don't have the proper amount of what they call large diameter hose, which is supply hose from the hydrant to the fire truck. So we're short 3 sections there. And we currently had no spare 1 3/4 hose until just recently. We did get a couple of lengths in that Chief Wambo had ordered, but we're still considerably short. We don't even have enough to restock 1 engine if we were to go out on a fire.
So maybe that's what I thought of. There was actually some.
There was a couple
Okay.
pieces ordered because we had to have enough to fill the trucks. So those
Right.
couple pieces that came in allow us to fill the apparatus, and then we don't have any spare right now.
Okay. All right, council. I'm sorry, I monopolized your one there in part of 2. Go, Mrs. Duncan.
I'm just confused on the vehicles. So what are you driving? You were driving, the last I heard, you were driving one of Kenny's trucks.
That is correct.
Okay,
So
what's happened and when did all this happen?
okay, when Chief Wambo retired,
Yeah.
I worked with the administrator. It was Mr. Bagdonis at the time, and some with Mr. Gokenauer, to come up with a cost-effective solution that could get us through a couple of different things. So one, when the deputy chief car was lost, I was driving my own vehicle for a while, and then one of Kenny's very old vehicles. That vehicle had been stuck at boat ramps several times and even pulled out by Monclova twice. So we knew we had a problem there. So when Chief retired, Chief LaGrange offered up one of his nice Interceptors. So we took a 2015 and turned it into a chief vehicle, took the retired chief's vehicle, which is older, and moved it over to tow the boat and carry equipment. It does seat 4, it is 4-wheel drive, and it is 3/4 ton. Since then, it has been used to help with cardiac arrest. It's been helped on a 3rd incident, and it does tow the boat efficiently. So we retired that white truck back to the back of the station, if you will. The red truck has been a very effective vehicle. The only thing that we didn't solve out of that whole process was getting a chief's car if we hire a chief or a deputy chief. So we'll need, eventually that will end up coming because the red truck took over the white one that Kenny was gracious enough. Now we
Right.
have a dependable vehicle.
So you're not driving the chief's old truck,
I
you're
am-
driving a new,
A 2015. I'm driving that because if he would have given that to us and I would drive the red truck, I'm doing the citizens an injustice. That truck tows great. It carries 4 people. It carries all our equipment. For me to drive that truck, if I was at a conference, if I was out of town, if I was somewhere else, that truck's needed here in town. So, made it a utility truck for the department, put it to good use instead of me driving around when I have an Interceptor to drive.
so does it just stay up the red truck stays up at the fire station?
Correct.
Most of the time and then you take it out when you need to?
Correct. It stays right in front of the boat, so the boat is a quick load now. It no longer has to be, the boat used to be stored in the back and it had to be pushed out and then hooked up. We lost a lot of ample time there. So now it sits, all you have to do is just lower the trailer right down onto the ball to go. It also serves as a support vehicle for cardiac arrests or large incidents. Instead of taking a second medic unit out, that could be used for another call, people can still respond to add support, and not have to take a whole nother medic unit. I can seat up to 5 in that rig.
Okay, so on my vehicles list, one of the, I think we had 3 2015 Explorers, and you got one of those. One comes down to fire now?
Correct.
On the list at the back, yeah. Probably need to move that. I bet they're, she's just saying, and we put them in categories and it's not on the fire
I
EMS.
just like to know who has what.
Sure. No, I have one of the 2015 Explorers.
Okay. There's 3 of them in the police.
Right.
So you have 2 left, Chief, 2 of the 2015s?
Yeah. So it's just, it's moving it down.
And he only has 6 vehicles. Okay.
I don't want to interrupt Mary, but while you're looking, is
No,
that,
go ahead.
is it equipped the way you need it then, Doug?
Yes, the 2015 Explorer is equipped the way that we need it. The only reason I had spoke with Mr. Gokenhour about leaving the chief's vehicle in was if we hire a deputy chief or a chief, whichever one comes.
The direction
the
right
other
now though
vehicle
is to get the firefighter, because this year is pretty pivotal to do that research. So that's what we've discussed as administration council at this point.
I mean, you gotta keep in mind, the former chief is the one that prepared the budget, not the
I
interim
know.
chief.
Oh, yeah, we know.
Yeah,
And he
I said that before it
insisted
started.
on keeping
You can
that in
tell.
there, so
Yeah.
that's why it's in there, and
Anything can be added back into, so be aware, because I know it's your first one going through it. You're doing a fine job explaining all these, by the way, for being, for not being
Well,
yours. So you're very knowledgeable, I like that. No, the part on the chief's vehicles, at this point, we have 1 full-timer, okay? And it's pretty in the unforeseen future at this point. And when we bring in a firefighter, they won't be going out on chief type of duties or
Correct.
assistant. And the most that they did previously, well, you were actually the deputy, but you know, they were in our small area doing inspections and whatnot, and we can see how that goes if we find someone. We did not have anybody in the last round we tried, so it doesn't really behoove us to here's what happens with the pre-funding for everybody new on council. We pre-fund a bit each of the 5 years. So what I was saying at the beginning, if you leave these large amounts in and we know that's not gonna happen in the near future, can do 2 things. You can move it out, just take it out and re-add it next time you do the budget. You know, when you have a better idea what's going to happen, but you're pre-funding for those, and they could probably be used for other things. So the fire department has an inordinate amount, and this is the most I've ever seen in 5 years, and that amount of money gets broken down in fifths, and that's how we would pre-fund to try. And previously, we weren't pre-funded 15 years ago. Now we're at a stage we're almost pre-funded, which is awesome, which is the way you should do it. So that is a lot if you add it up. I forget what my total came to. I added it all up. It was quite a bit of money. So I was just picking areas that you could definitely take out, reinsert next year if you need to, see what happens. So at this point, you don't want to have more vehicles than you do full-time people in your department. So, and at this point, we do have 2 vehicles if we needed them. You have a dire need, you know, you've got them. So they're both functioning. Sorry, Mrs. Duncan, or
No,
whoever
that's
I interrupted.
okay.
No.
I acquiesce the floor to, do you have something?
Are you,
I'm finished.
oh, you're done, oh, okay. Well, just to confirm then, Doug, that, do you need the vehicle on the budget this year, or are you okay with what you're driving?
I'm okay with what we're driving. I know that I had spoken to Mr. Gokenhour before the meeting that, you know, with only 1 chief to drive a vehicle, at the moment, we only need 1. Like I said, it's just if the future, you know, comes that we hire a deputy or a chief, that we'll need 1 at that time. But
Is the Interceptor on loan from the police department to you guys? Do you have to give it back eventually, or is it outfitted for you guys to keep?
it is outfitted right now currently for us. It is decals. It was not painted, so it could, I guess, if it need be, it could be decaled.
Gotcha. Okay.
Remove decals and and go back, I suppose. But being that it's a 2015 with 103,000, I'm not real sure if Chief LaGrange would look to take it back or replace it.
Gotcha.
That one had already gone through the cycle. Like it takes 2 2 to 3 years for the mileage and kind of the
Yeah, it's
limits
this
we
top
set.
one.
So if you read in the police, they said, they try to go by the 100,000 miles and whatnot. Some can go longer, some not so much. So every time they turned over, we would, sell them on gov deals or
Gotcha.
let someone else use them, which was a great use of a vehicle, so.
I'm glad to hear you're out of Kenny's truck.
Yeah, well, thank you. Thank you.
Other questions? So,
I don't have a question on that.
Well, I mean, that sounds like it was a good, arrangement you guys made in, you know, shuffling the vehicles around, cause there was talk about needing a reliable truck to tow the boat, correct?
Correct.
We were
Yes.
kind of in a quandary with that.
Correct.
Right.
So that took care of that problem. And,
Yes.
and that truck's not that old. I mean, when did we buy that?
It's a 2011 Dodge Ram.
All right. And you having the SUV, I mean, the former chief always said he wanted a cover on the back of that truck, so now you can haul your equipment around, and so it's probably better suited anyway.
It is better suited this way, yes.
So, that sounds like it all turned out good.
I have a question on the back years. It's 2022, but right now we send the washer and dryer for firefighting gear. We send it to White House, it says. Is that right?
Currently, that is correct.
Is that just after a fire or?
No, that's,
Is that all the time after training? Or is that-
It can be after training, yes. It can be after motor vehicle crashes.
Right.
It could be
Anytime.
any time that it's soiled. The manufacturer recommends, I mean, just like our clothes, to clean it.
Right.
And it also recommends once a year. So even if it hasn't done anything, let's say it hung on a rack for an entire year and it never came off the rack, it's still to be laundered
How
once a year.
often do we, so off the top of your head, I mean, is that all the ambulance runs and everything, or it's?
That's
the
everything. Anytime
firefighting
someone-
gear? Okay, it's all of
Anytime
it.
someone puts
Okay.
gear on.
All right. And so off, like weekly, you're heading down, someone's heading down there? Is
We
that-
were headed down there quite a lot at one point. In fact, they even said, wow, you're using it more than we are. It just was one of those things. They kind of go in spurts, just like the runs. So I haven't used it much this year yet, but we haven't had too many runs where we've gotten muddy or been out in it to get it soiled. You know, we haven't had any spills. We haven't had any bloodborne pathogens or anything yet, so we've been
Right.
fortunate.
And I'll just remind council again that just pay attention when we get all the information back from the study, because if you read the beginning that we sent you, not the final report, it's to get the whole list of what's going on in White House, which has Lucas County over there, and our area. And if you think about it in a district, you're going to look at everything you have that's part of the districts and how you work it. So, you know, you figure out what works, what doesn't. So our decision, what I am thinking about, and it has to do with that pre-funding option, is there's also another vehicle in 2021 for a deputy chief of 40,000, which we don't have the people yet. I feel kind of up in limbo, and you could go either way with this, but you are dedicating money the way it stands right now towards this, and we don't know what's going to happen with that and how the assets would shake out with the different entities. So I think as a council, you have to be cognizant and wait for that study, and we're pretty good shape now because this is where we are. We weren't able to hire a third person, and now we're hoping to hire the second person within 2019, but I can't give you a date or time on that. So I guess what I'll request, and if we have to do it next time, I can write it out and get it to you ahead of time, and I've done this before, and show you amendments I would be suggesting, so we could discuss it further. But I would probably take a few of these items, they're pretty high dollar, and either move them further, or take them out and then have it reevaluated in the fall of this year when you start doing the next budget. Because we will have something by then to have a big discussion over prior to then, I promise, so. Any other questions why we have
I
poor Doug
would
up
be
there?
just a little maybe concerned about, I know it's a lot of money, the 100,000, but
Right.
it is to replace the 1988 fire engine. And so if the study doesn't pan out,
Right.
maybe we should think about funding that at this point. We could always
Or even moving it a year,
move it back a
Yeah.
year or something like that.
right?
If it helps you on
Clarification.
that is one of the last remaining open cab engines in the entire county. The standard has gone to closed cabs, so that one still has 2 firefighters that ride in the open air.
That's not our frontline one.
It is for mutual aid, yes. It is the
What is
first
it
one out
for
the
our
door.
fires?
For our fires, it's second out.
Second. And we have the ladder then we have the other pumper.
We have a
Then
ladder.
we have this one.
No, we have one pumper for our first line, a ladder, and then we have this pumper.
Is that right?
And
So
it's our first line pumper for mutual aid fires. That is what Monclova and White House gets to support their fires.
Right, so it's our three.
I
But
just
I
think-
mean, our first duty is to hear, and then, yeah, the second is.
Well, we're still contracted
mutual.
to
Right.
respond to their calls also. We signed a contract, so we still have to respond to theirs with
Right,
proper
and
equipment.
mutual aid's dependent on the type of fire and how big. I mean, you would be sending maybe something else depending on what it is. too.
No,
No,
we're,
never.
no, we're contracted on, we're toned at the same exact time they are, so we don't know what's going on until we get there. So
Right.
we're contracted to send one engine with a crew of level 1 firefighters and EMT basics to their scene.
But they won't send a ladder truck if you needed to unless they hear differently.
If they request a ladder truck, then
Right,
we'll
that's
send
what
it.
I'm saying,
Yeah.
that we're able to request that or vice versa. They have big plants down there, in White House, for example, that you would
Correct.
have to.
Yes.
Okay.
On the, it says it's a 1988 Pierce fire engine, but then on the inventory sheet, I don't see an 88.
It's actually an 87 Pierce, so that might be a typo.
Or
It's
is
a
it an
1980
87 Aero?
It is, a 1987 Pierce Arrow.
Oh, Pierce Aero.
Okay, so it'd be like Chevy and then
Yeah.
Silverado. So it's a Pierce, and then the model's an Arrow. We have a Sabre and a Dash are the others.
And then the other one is the Sabre, the Pierce, it's a 1998.
It's a 1998, yes.
Yep. Okey doke.
And the ladder truck is a pumper also, right?
It's actually called a Quint. Yes, it does all. It has a water tank of 300 gallons. It does have a 2,000 gallon minute pump. It does have a ladder on it, so it does service all functions. Yes.
I was always told a favorite was to take the pumpers out because they held more water. Is that
They
true?
do. That is
And
correct.
Then I had to ask myself because the ladder truck wasn't going out ever. I was like, we had just purchased it, and I was like, wait, shouldn't we have bought 2 pumper trucks for the price of the ladder? Because firefighters tended to like those. So,
It's not just necessarily that.
Yeah.
It has a lot of functions to it. And to put it into perspective, that Harvest Court fire that happened 2 years ago, if you look, the ladder didn't even reach the roof. It's a 100-foot ladder, and
Right.
with the house is set back, you lose 30 feet because the truck's 30 foot long. So you lose
Right.
30 feet before you even raise it up in the air. So you're only at like 70 feet of reach, and if your property's 50 foot back, then by the time you take the angle, you're off. So the whole point of it is to raise water up into the air and spray it downward that we can't do from the ground.
right.
So it helps a lot. The disadvantage that we have at the current time is I don't have a whole lot of drivers for it. And I'm not, we just don't have that many
Special
people qualified to drive a tandem axle 30-foot truck.
Huh.
A lot of new, inexperienced people at the moment that we're working on getting trained.
Yeah.
So with part-timers.
Being brutally honest.
I like that. So with part-timers, that could be an issue, but are they more so trained for the smaller?
We're working on getting a lot of them trained up on the smaller apparatus, yes, because we're being a lot more efficient with that right now.
How many people do you have currently that could drive any of them? I know we have Mr. Beekus and Mr. Grogan.
Yeah, they can drive anything. I would have to actually sit down. I'm
Like a
sorry, I'm not.
handful? I
Yeah,
mean,
I would
that's
say
not-
I would say we probably have 4 to 5 people that can drive everything,
Okay,
and then it kind of breaks down from there. I can, if you'd like, I can get you a
no,
list.
it's just something to be cognizant of, because if you're not available, Mr. Beekus and, hopefully one of you would.
So White House does not have a ladder truck.
They do.
They do.
But they have what's called an ascent. So they have a 107-foot ladder, but it doesn't have a bucket. It's a single axle truck instead of a tandem axle truck. So it's only about 20 foot long. So it's a lot shorter wheelbase. It's a little bit easier to maneuver. It's the same size as a pumper, but it just has a stick on the top, which has its advantages and disadvantages also. You put somebody 107 feet up in the air and they're on the last rung or 2 of the ladder and they're hanging over. We have a working platform, so you're on more like a lift. Not that theirs is bad by any means. They both have their purpose. They're two, actually comparing apples to oranges. Actually, they're 2 different types of.
Now
aerial
Monclova
operators.
has a newer one,
Monclova's working on a newer one also. Yes.
but they have one now they bought with the, I'm pretty pretty sure. With
I
the
don't know if
gentleman.
they've delivered it yet or not. I know that they were looking at one. I haven't talked to Chief Bernhardt to find out if they actually got it delivered yet or not.
I
They
think
had, they had a,
They had a ladder truck.
they had a stick also, yes,
Yeah.
but theirs was a tandem axle stick. So theirs was longer like ours, so that's why I say they're all kind of
Right,
unique.
right.
Interesting. Well, yeah, and council, if you just take a look at the price tag on that ladder truck at the time of purchase in 2004, nearly $800,000, and we rarely use it. That's amazing, isn't it? Think about that.
Well, that's dependent on what you mean by rarely use it. I mean, it's used at every structure fire we have. The hard part is we only have 1 or 2 structure fires. So that's where the caveat is. Now, we have gone to Middleton Township a couple of times this year for the grain silo fire. We've had a couple of structure fires on the other side of the river that they've needed a tower, and we're a lot closer than Bowling Green. So it has gone out quite a bit. We just don't have a lot of instances where I guess it's needed as much, where people will see it. But it goes out more often, I guess, than you would think.
I do know when we first bought it, I don't know for how many years, we did not take that one a lot.
Correct.
It's not the first one
It
out.
got
It was
sat
actually
for
sitting
quite
in
a
there.
while, yeah.
Yes.
It was just, in fact, actually, to be really honest with you, it was just out over the cold snap. I had it out at Browning for a water sprinkler system broke. So the equipment that it carried was able to get the sprinkler system shut off. We don't carry that stuff on an engine, because different apparatus carry different types of equipment.
It carries the most tools.
It does,
So,
correct. Carries the most ladders also.
Yeah.
Not the big one, it carries the most ground ladders too.
okay.
Just curious, Doug, do they still make open-air fire engines?
No, that actually stopped right after about 87. It's close to 1990 they quit doing that. NFPA said that it's not a recommendation. There was too many injuries and from crashes, from people falling out, all the above. There are a couple left in the county, but there are not very many. There's only about 2 or 3 left. I know Washington Township, I believe, has one, but they're in the process of getting rid of theirs right now. They're purchasing another one.
Interesting.
Any other council questions?
I have a question concerning the SWAT equipment, more for Chief LaGrange. How many outfits do we have in the PD?
We have enough for each officer right now. I'm looking past the best.
Which is how many? 11? Have we ever used it?
Not while I'm here, have not,
Knock on wood.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
hopefully.
yeah.
Sorry.
nor do we want to.
No.
No.
Are those fitted to the individual, or could people put those on?
The helmets, yeah, the helmets are adjustable, but they tend to be fitted to the individual. You can get them on quick. Same with the tactical vests.
Okay.
They're adjustable and everybody has them fitted for themselves.
So in a fire department, if we have part-timers, would they be able to fit everybody?
We would. Ours would be a little bit different. Ours would be a universal fit per se.
'Cause
They
you wouldn't
come
have
in
the same
different
people.
sizes. Yeah, they're gonna actually go in the apparatus instead of be issued per
Person.
employment, yeah.
Cool.
I have one more question here. This NFPA standards,
Yes.
can you explain that? Like, I know like the turnout gear and the other.
Okay. Well, NFPA standards are what courts hold fire departments to because we don't fall under things like OSHA. With that being said, because NFPA has been regarded as just a standard and not utilized the way that it was nationally set up to be utilized, some people have gone back to OSHA. So Texas adopted OSHA, so they have OSHA and NFPA now. In Ohio, in fact, actually I just spoke to Mr. Gokenauer about it. I found out that Ohio BWC in July of 2017 has adopted all public fire departments. So we now fall under an OSHA type environment, and BWC is holding people accountable for the NFPA standards.
So if we would have an accident where a fireman was injured and the BWC would show up and they'd say, well, your equipment is out of the standard, they conceivably wouldn't pay a claim. So in that respect, you do have to be cognizant of that you know, our equipment is getting out of date or it's out of standard. I mean, there is now potential liability there in terms of
I know a lot of fire departments are getting, what they're calling friendly audits at the moment. And I just spoke to Mr. Gokenauer right before council about this. This is all information I got today. But I found out that even our neighboring department, White House, had a friendly audit. So what they're doing is they're coming in and they're offering you an opportunity for them to come in, meet you, see your facility, talk to you, find out what needs to be fixed, and they give you roughly 90 days as long as you can continue to show that you can work to come compliant. If we don't do one of those random audits, they can come do a random audit on their own, and at that point then we're on the hook. So working with Mr. Gokenauer, we'll be working at maybe having a friendly invitation to BWC.
Is that just the gear, or is that the fire station?
It's everything, because it falls all under OSHA, so it'll be all the way across the board.
All right, and what's the difference when we're calling it turnout gear like we've always had, kind of yearly in there, replacing? But then we have firefighting gear. Without reading, it has a different explanation, like in the next year. Is it pretty much
they're pretty much the same. I think the way, and again, I apologize, I didn't actually type those descriptions out. But the best way that I can describe it, I have a feeling the way that that's worded is the turnout gear was the coats and the pants.
Okay.
Firefighting gear was probably the helmets and boots, because it all falls under one ensemble, but they are quite expensive. So when you buy it as a complete package, it is costly. So I think what they were trying to do was spread the cost.
So one you think are coats and pants and 1 year's the other?
I think that's how it was set up. You know, finding out the information that I found out today and working with Mr. Gokenauer, that could change, but.
Yeah. Would be nice, you probably took a look at this, but yeah, you could, you know, take some time to take another look at it since you didn't put this one together and see what you think. But they pretty much have the same description, but I've never seen it called that in our previous 15 budgets I looked at. So I don't know if he put a new description in or what.
Well, and we have hose in 2020, but he ordered enough hose for 19 already?
No. We ordered a couple of pieces just to get our apparatus full of hose. We were short hose. We don't have any.
Right now, you are short or you're not short?
The physical apparatus that respond out the door are equipped. I have no hose, so if we had
Spare
prime
hose.
example, if we had a structure fire tonight, an engine will come out of service because the hoses will freeze. So I have no hose to put back on that apparatus. We used to have 2 racks of hose, and it's all either been outdated or it has failed due to holes or wear and tear, you know, over the years. Mr. Blair can attest that there's 2 pallets of old hose sitting down there waiting to go on the gov deals because it's all out of service.
So it's the spare hose for the second one.
So should we be doing some hose?
And we are short the, let me caveat that, I'm sorry, we are short LDH. The tower is short 2 pieces, and our second out engine, or first out for mutual aid, is short 1 piece. So we are short the supply hose, which is what the hydrant supplies the engine with. We are short hose.
So can you rework this a little bit for us?
So rework, how would you like me to rework it?
Well, I mean, if we need hose in 19, I would rather get what we need.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, if you need 300 feet of hose or whatever you need, I'd rather put it in 19 if we're gonna put off this, you know, investment for the pumper for the time being. I wanna make sure we have enough hose for you to be able to operate.
Okay, if we're,
Without going crazy.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure, understood. I guess a follow-up question to that would be, I would be okay if you want to put the engine off to get the hose needed to supply us. On the other side of that, I know I spoke with Mr. Gokenauer about this earlier, that with the BWC and the NFPA standards on our gear, 15,000 will only fit 5 of our firefighters, and we have 30, which leaves the rest of them open for that. So if it was possible, we could get the hose and the turnout gear and forgo the engine payment, and then everyone's covered with proper gear and I have proper hose.
So, let me make a suggestion,
Sure.
Mayor, if I may, because
Yeah.
I think this is good dialogue. I would, we would appreciate, in the next few days, if not tomorrow,
Okay?
a list of immediate items,
Okay.
including the 15
Hose and
extra
gear.
gear,
Sure.
the
Okay.
hose, like Mrs. Duncan said, that you said LDH?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Let me
I don't know what that
explain that. I'm sorry. I got talking and I didn't explain, so my apologies. LDH is what's called large diameter hose. So it's what hooks up to the front of a fire hydrant. So what you see a firefighter fight a fire with is referred to as like 1 3/4 or 2 inch. So it's a lot smaller in diameter. It's easier to maneuver. Large diameter hose is meant for bulk. It's not meant for pressure. It's meant to just flow thousands of gallons of water through it at a very low pressure. So that's what we're short. We do currently have enough hose on the rigs except for that LDH or large diameter hose.
Sure.
It would be, if we're gonna look at the hose capabilities, and I can get you a list, I can even do it tonight, of potential smaller diameter hoses that we could use some of. I mean, I don't need enough on there to replace, I have a backup for every piece that we have. That's not what I'm asking, but we don't have any.
Maybe you could,
It'd
put
be
it
nice
over
for a
the,
few pieces.
put it over the next, look at the 5-year, but do what you need this year and then put it
Yeah,
out.
we could stretch some out over the upcoming years.
No pun intended.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
On the turnout gear, I have to go back over my
Sure.
budget, but we always had that money in there every year, I'm pretty sure, so I'm kinda confused why they're all out of date if we've been putting money in every year. I don't know if you'll even know
I don't
this,
think they all are out of date.
We have 5 sets that are not.
Yeah.
that are not out of date, and how
Correct.
many? And you said 30?
We have 30.
Yeah.
And if these new people come on, I could be up to as many as 31 or 32.
What happens when the part-timers don't stay? Do we reuse that, or how we have
If
such?
it
turnover?
fits, yes. The hard part is, with turnout gear, I'm looking at, I've gotten a couple quotes from some manufacturers to try to prepare for some of this. I've asked for what's called fitted gear, but not custom tailored gear. So
Yeah.
fitted gear is when they measure your chest size and your arm lengths, and they kind of go off of that. Custom tailored gear is like if you bought a very nice suit like Mr. Bruno's wearing and Mr. Fry, they fit it right to you.
But we
I don't
have
want to
that.
do that.
We don't have that luxury.
You want
not
small,
being a
medium, and
full-time.
large, not
Correct.
necessarily.
Correct.
Right, I get it, we get it.
But that's what I was asking, because we're not unique. We're not Toledo full-timers, and there you're going to get a tailored everything. Unfortunately, we'll have to do something that we can reuse because your turnover is inevitable unless there's a district and there's a lot of you staying for a long time, so.
The hard part is if I get firefighters that are, 6'2" or 6'3",
Agreed.
the next guy in might be 5'10". That's where the dilemma is. Yeah, I got a large for him, and I didn't get it custom tailored, but it
Right.
still won't fit the 5'10" firefighter.
Probably the average rule works though for a lot of people.
Sure.
I mean, there's average size, but I guess what I'm saying is, yeah, as long as, I know we had turnout gear every year in the budget, so I don't know the dollar amounts, but
Right,
there
yeah,
had to
I'd
be
like to go
some
back and
bot, yeah.
Yeah,
So take a look at that.
I would just like you to take a
Take a double-
real look
take
at the
a
budget.
inventory.
I wanna make sure you have what you
Mr.
need,
Gook.
and
Okay.
then let's move what we
Sure.
We
we
may
think
not-
we can wait on for,
Yeah.
till we get the information on the district.
As far as going through the turnout gear, I can get that to you probably tomorrow. I don't know that I can get that to you tonight. The hose I could.
No,
The
you're
turnout
fine.
gear I can probably
Tomorrow's
get
fine.
tomorrow.
You do not have to do it tonight, that's good.
It's okay,
Yeah.
give yourself a couple days.
We're not meeting again for 2 weeks.
Yeah, we have until March 1st, so this.
And we're all gonna have suits like Mr. Bruno, too.
I'll let you know who my tailor is.
Okay.
We will be paying for those ourselves.
Thanks, Mayor, for clarifying that.
Okay. Any other questions while we have our fire going? And I apologize, but
No,
I
I'm
had the
good.
most items in there, so.
Just
Oh,
a
nice.
comment, I'm
Checking it
appreciative of the sharing of the resources.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's been communication.
Yes.
Tonight's dialogue was all good. Let's get it right, so thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, thanks for taking all those questions on the budget that you
Sure.
did put together. That was good. And be understanding that we're just trying to explore this year the district, so it's not putting it off. And at any time, if something is needed, council just has to amend their budget. So I need people to
Vote it.
remember that and not get
Vote
too
it in.
worried about it. That if you come in and people need something, we're able to discuss it and make a decision, so.
Awesome.
Yeah, but I think what we
Great.
should maybe do, we'll ask more questions after fire.
Yes.
Because we might have to play with this area and then come back and do it at the next meeting, so.
Yeah.
But we'll get information from you on this. All right,
Yes,
sorry,
ma'am.
I think we're done.
Please,
Sorry
that's
how long
good.
that took
Sure.
with the fire.
Awesome.
All right, thank
Great.
you.
Thank
Anybody
you.
ha-
Good job.
I'll be here if you need any more
Yeah.
questions.
Could think of some. Does anybody have any other 5-year questions after that? Oh, had one for Public Works, Mr. Blair. Grab a chair and have a seat up there. I'm sorry, you have the second. Yeah, sorry. You had the second most equipment. He usually has to
I'm older.
answer so many equipment questions. I did have a question about, is there a year that we're supposed to skip sidewalks? 2019. It's in the 325 Public Works Community Development area.
Yeah, it's gonna be, the program's this year.
Oh,
We switched it from 18 to 19, because we didn't have enough time to get all the information out.
I
So
don't see it in there.
it's gonna be done this year.
I think that amount was missing.
I think it's under, community development. Is that
Yeah.
looking?
It's okay, I mean, but I just was curious if usually it's in there every year, but
Yeah,
it's not in there.
21.
Yeah, we do skip every year, and, in 2017, we did not have a program. In 18, then we shifted it to 19. So actually, there've been, a 2-year length without a program.
We didn't do any last year, okay.
No, we didn't. We didn't have time to get
I'm
all the
gonna have them check,
information
cause
out.
it's not in here on that year, so, you notice.
I want to add it.
It would be in the carryover.
Correct.
18.
Expense from,
Yeah, correct.
So there
18
should
to
be
19.
in
It
the
would be
encumbrance.
25,000, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
25,
Oh, okay.
but it's gonna come out of the encumbrance that already happened, so.
Yes.
They're happening,
Yeah.
okay. That explains that one.
Got it.
But then it is in
Wondered where it
subsequent
went.
years, Kenny.
Pardon?
Because, you know,
And then it
it's in
keeps
20
going.
and 21 and 22 and 23.
Every other year.
No, it's in every year.
Oh, I guess Jim and I,
We just had that 2
prior, we talked about, I've got like 8 budgets, so it's.
Okay. It's
Uh,
page 18 on the,
Yeah.
5-year.
Maybe to double up on a couple of them.
So
I
we
know-
took off 1 year and didn't get it done in 18 then? It was in 18?
Correct.
Okay,
Correct.
so it is gonna be 5.
Because what is that part of the Connect Waterville, and is that part of the replacing sidewalks and things like that? Is that where that?
It's not new, though.
No, it's not really part of Connect Waterville. That was designed for new sidewalks, pretty much. This is repair and replace, or mud jacking, or removal and replace, I guess I should say. Those are liabilities not only for us, but the residents as well,
yeah.
so.
So that's just our share. What you
Yeah.
have in the budget is what the city
Right.
pays and then the residents pay.
Correct.
Are these for city sidewalks,
Correct.
these numbers?
Both, isn't it?
Yeah,
Some are
we pay for everything that's caused, let's say a tree or a valve box or a manhole or something like that. Those are our responsibilities. If we have no utilities involved, then it's the residents' responsibility.
So we are allocating money for the sidewalks in 2019.
Correct.
It's coming from.
It was a
18.
carryover from,
It didn't get done in
previous
18 and
All right.
it's fallen into 19.
I
Go ahead.
don't want to interrupt you.
No,
but,
go ahead.
Mr. Pedro had suggested adding to the street resurfacing, I think, didn't you? But that's not in the budget we're looking at, I don't think, is it?
no, not at this time. Mr. Gokenhour, we've had some discussion on possibility of additional money to capture another road. District Drive's the only one that was scheduled for this year. However, if more funding comes available, then we'll look at another road as well.
That revision is in the operating side.
Yeah, the Public Works Director mentioned that he included his 2018 paving inventory to kind of give you an idea of what
Yeah.
you could potentially do with another, say, $125,000 in paving, and that's what we proposed at the last meeting that, we'd revise the budget and include more money for a local paving program. We're also including money for the State Route 64 paving program that was delayed a year.
Correct.
And now we'd like to do it this year. We took it out of the budget last year because it wasn't going to happen, but we want to put it back in this year. And the cost is $390,000 for that. The city's share of that is $30,000. So it's kind of a hard project to pass up in terms of the remaining cost is paid by the ODOT and the Ohio Public Works Commission.
So our original amount in there was 125.
Well, our original paving budget was 178.
Okay.
We wanted to add about $515,000 for this year, which would include the State Route 64 project, and then another $125,000 for paving. Looking on Mr. Blair's list, you'll notice Cedar Lane was about $110,000. So that was kind of a project maybe we were thinking you could either do one like that or you could do a bunch of smaller streets together, and I guess that'd be up to you. But he's also going to take a look at the streets after the snow and ice clears and see if there's anything else. But he included that just so you kind of had an idea of, well, these are the other streets on our list, and this is what last year's estimate in terms of the cost was last year, and that might have to be added to a little bit here and there, but it's pretty close to what it would cost to add another street.
In the State Route 64, if you guys remember, it's been a while ago, we've been talking about it, but we haven't done that one for a while, and it's one of the few that we actually get money for because it is a state route. So that one's probably a no-brainer, putting it back in there at $30,000 from the city. But to answer your question, $125,000 was already the additional on what is in there, correct? 178 plus 1.
Well, I guess we proposed to add that, but the budget detail and the operating budget doesn't reflect that those figures were added in. It was added in the second grand totals.
And the revision at the
front. Just to kind of show you where the ending balances would be.
Of the general.
If we did it. So if you look, the ending
see.
balance in the general fund and the capital fund are still pretty strong. So we could afford to do more in terms of paving.
So that's the number right now they just came up with to show us what it looks like. So you won't see it in the back, but that's something council can vote on. Got it. So to amend it. Well, we haven't passed it yet, so to change it, I should say. Any other questions on Public Works while Mr. Blair's up there so patiently? I have one, and you may not be able to answer it because you probably have to answer it every year, and you probably didn't bring it with you this year because I didn't tell you. I see another 1-ton dump and plow and salt spreader, the bigger trucks that we have. And how much, are we outsourcing any of the snow removal? I know we do on the mowing and some leaves and some other things, but are we all in-house on the snow? Or is the same
No,
company?
negative. We contract out the alleys, over 2 inches of snow.
Okay.
The parks, parking lots, those areas.
The parks?
Yeah.
They don't do any main roads or neighborhoods or?
No.
Okay.
That's over 2 inches, you said?
So we need another dump truck?
This is to replace the 1997. It's quite old. We used the 97 for a leaf collection truck.
Yep.
We also use it for other activities such as water breaks, storm repairs, that kind of stuff. So it would replace that, and then the other one would drop down, and we'd use that for the leaf collection and the other ones that I mentioned.
Any other questions? I thought there was another large truck, but as you said, you have like eight different categories, so.
There was another large truck
Split
in
between a couple.
2023.
Oh,
Okay.
That was an additional truck, not a replacement truck. If some of you may recall, when they were developing the layout for Waterville landings, they did an impact study, a departmental impact study. And two things that I recall from that study was it would trigger another truck and also another employee. We're well over 40 lane miles of streets right now, probably pushing 45. If you times that by 4, that's a lot of lane miles that you're plowing. So you're out 200 miles. If we have a truck go down right now, we're pretty much in trouble. You know, we can't really keep up with it.
I got it now, but this is probably a different one. In 2020 in the road fund, a one-ton
2020?
4x4 dump truck with plow and spreader, but is that different than the one in the buildings and grounds?
It's split between buildings and ground street department.
It's the same one.
Same one. Yep.
That one doesn't have the capital, so I've got 50 there and 45 there, but it says it's 90 total. That doesn't add up. I'm on page 16 and 32.
32.
So you got 50,000 in the buildings and grounds, 325, and then the roads, 45,000.
I think the 50,000 may have been a typo because total was 90.
Yeah, so is that's what I couldn't add together. That's the same one.
Yeah. Same one.
So it's 45. And that is a replacement, okay. And then 2023 is the only other one that's a new one.
Correct.
And that's dump truck with plow, salt spreader, brine tank, so it must be a lot different because that's a $200,000 truck.
That's a larger truck. Similar to the larger ones we have now.
And that one's totally in the roads, that's not split
Correct.
anywhere. Are there any other trucks? that are-
Not for that kind of activity, no.
Okay, not that big.
Are we looking at redoing canal again?
Pardon?
Are we looking at redoing the canal intersection with the trail again?
I think it's in, isn't it in the budget?
There's something in here.
It's in the capital. I don't
Yeah,
know what
I believe it's in 2021 or 2022. City applied for a grant, a federal grant, and next year, there's some money set aside for like a preliminary design, and I guess what that would entail would be maybe council or the Public Works Committee would have like an open house and invite the neighbors and say, you know, here's our proposed design for this. What do you think? You know, and we did look at a design, and it's you know, it's a hill, and it's very unusual, and trying to get it pedestrian access to work in that intersection is going to be a challenge, but that's also a grant that we've applied for, and we have funding. So that would cover most of the cost, but it's you know, like a preliminary design. What do you think of this? And before we go ahead with a final design.
Is there any talk about, and this has nothing to do with you, Ken, having another exit besides canal for that neighborhood to get back to the trail? Is there plans to go to Dutch?
We're talking Wilkshire?
Is that even
I mean,
being
eventually,
thought of?
there would be a connector, would come out, what, Choctaw?
Choctaw Drive.
And it would connect
Yeah.
It lines up with
Wilkshire.
Wilkshire.
Yep. Correct.
But yeah, that could be.
But the development had not happened, so.
Well,
Getting close, it's
Right,
getting closer.
but that there is,
Yeah, good
in the
point.
grand scheme of things, there is a plan to
It
go
was
out.
lined up like
the
that,
other way.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah, the plat we're gonna approve tonight is getting a little closer.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So I wondered, because the more houses we build, the more traffic goes down that way, it's.
One more question, Ken, the leaf machine, so
Oh, yeah.
what's the outsourcing on the leaves? Do we do most of it? I know we outsource.
Yeah,
that.
if we get behind, we did this year a little bit. We contract some of it out, but
Not
we did 90% of it.
90, okay. Anything else on there, and then don't go anywhere, cause you'll know parks and green space, right? A real quick one. Okay, the Prairie Trail Park Master Plan, that came out of the Parks and Rec Committee, I believe, that idea.
Correct.
So, is that going to be underway with like a consultant, or what will that 15,000 be used for, do you think?
Consultant.
Okay. Are we going to get bids on that, or do they like have a direction of what they're looking to put there, or just?
Probably RFPs, I would think.
Yeah, like
we
an
need to-
RFP, and ask someone to submit a proposal for that.
Okay, take this for what it's worth, but I believe that little structure we put in there with the picnic table was 20,000, but it hasn't gotten much usage. I'm a little bit concerned about that area, and I know everybody talks about the housing development across the street, which is going very slow, but it is coming a little bit. And they want to have another park over there. We made that sort of a passive park. We can switch it to an active park, but I'm hoping, you only draw walkers, bikers, skaters, those kind of people. I happen to see it all the time because I'm right there. But my concern will be, it's quite a bit of money for a plan. I'm curious what direction they're going, because a consultant will come in and do anything, but has council really thought about what they want to see down there, very active or passive? Right now, it's a walking type of thing, running, skating, biking, and it has a hill, and I mean, there's some land over there, so I guess I want to make sure that we know kind of what direction we go before we, have we gone, we haven't gone out and sought
No,
anybody yet.
the meeting coming up, they're supposed to have some ideas they're gonna bring forward.
Good,
But I told them, I said, it was designed as a passive park, so
right.
strongly keep that in mind.
So see, if you're going out to get a consultant, to me, that's more of an, sort of an active park, and it's already a pretty good passive park, is what my point is.
Yeah.
15,000 is a lot of money to come back and say, that's a great walking trail you have. And I know how much it costs. You have the asphalt in here later on, and that's a highly used one. And I know how much that's going to cost you. That would go a long way to keep the trail looking good, which is kind of in disrepair after 22 years.
That's something we can look at, I guess.
I mean, before you spend it, I guess I'd like to hear what their thoughts are. So I don't mind keeping it in here, but let's make sure a passive park is passive.
Yeah, and if we move forward with this, and everybody's in agreement, obviously, we're gonna treat it similar to what we did down here with the residents and have a committee set up, and maybe not as extensive as this, but at least, input from the budding properties anyway.
I guess my concern will be, is that some in-house things we can do to generate ideas before, it's okay if it becomes an active park, but I think we need to think about that before you throw money at it and then get a consultant, to come up with an idea, and we say we want it to be passive, and it is passive, so.
Well, and I would assume, based on the discussions we've had over the last 3 or 4 years, the primary park focus for the whole
Is down
community
here.
is here.
We've got
That's-
75,000 and two,
Yep.
Very
two
much back
installments.
burner.
So I guess before you do that, if we could ask that you come to council, and we'll leave it in there, and if it
That's
has
kind of
to
what my
roll-
plan was, actually, and they've got to do a lot of discussion before we get to that point.
Well, we took a
And,
field trip, and we did really all wrap that up about 2 years
Correct.
ago. Mary was on there.
Yeah, correct.
So we want to make sure we visit Waterworks again, and I don't know, maybe, we can leave it if you want, but I would just ask that we say before we hop in, maybe. I can come to that meeting maybe if you want to
Well,
explain.
it just is, I chair the Parks and Rec, and I have to go back and look at our minutes, because I do not recall asking that we submit this money as for a master plan. I believe that they wanted to just start pre-funding, so money would be available for
Actual park.
whatever we wanted to do with the park, and it would be more the committee that would come up with ideas. Remember, because I had, everybody got a bird's eye view of the park. It was like, okay, go home and just brainstorm this, what kind of vision do you see? So, I think the wording is wrong on here, I could be wrong, but I would prefer to take this back to the committee and look at the meetings, the minutes from that meeting, and see, and I thought it was 10,000, not 15.
And it could be pre-funding.
No, it was
for-
15.
I mean, it could pre-fund if it wasn't a master plan consultant person. And then if it was needed for the other park and took priorities, it could be moved. But look at the wording. I would appreciate if you look at the minutes,
Yep.
the wording. And I don't know that we were at the stage to prepare that master plan, but I could be wrong.
Got our hands full with that one down
Yeah.
there. Yeah. And
We have a
that's
lot
gonna
to
be
do.
coming to Parks and Rec.
If I recall, the committee was pretty passionate about getting this thing started, so.
Who was? I'm sorry.
The committee.
Okay, that's fine. And I can come to the
But
meeting if you want.
maybe that'd be a good idea. I'll
Yeah.
shoot you an email. I'll have it send you an agenda.
It doesn't mean
as
we
well.
won't do it, but let's,
Right.
yeah.
Well, I think it'd be a good idea for you to hear, and Barb, we can rehash this again. It's been 3 months, so.
I'm all for
Well,
another
it's been
park,
longer
but
than that.
Yeah.
It's probably a year ago.
it was a while.
Well, when we first started discussing it, yeah.
Right.
Okay, I've got one more 5-year for you on the Waterworks Park, speaking of that in 2020, and the asphalt and the path. Again, our little tour of the parks and our gathering and I know they've had other meetings since then, but, my concern is Waterworks is okay how it is now, but we never really finished deciding what we will do down there with the baseball and the pickleball or whatever we come up with. So I guess I wanna make sure that, I mean, that money again could be tagged to be used in that park, but that I guess we just really need to look at the parks and make sure council knows what's going on, and 16,000 is a lot, and I know a lot of that gets washed out when it floods down there, and if we aren't gonna keep that configuration, then that path, you know.
At the committee level, Parks and Rec Committee, there was discussion about the possibility of turning it into a dog park.
Right.
Barbie, you remember that, I'm sure. And so we had a gentleman come in to one of our meetings, 3 meetings ago or 2 meetings ago. And he wanted to use it for play baseball.
Right.
And the committee went ahead and made a recommendation to let him do that. And that's where it stands right now. We haven't had any more discussion about the dog park.
But maybe we should just look at that whole park as well as with, like, the same thing with Prairie Trail, and that one might be easier because we know it wasn't used for much right now as is, but we may not want to, we may need to just decide if that path will be where it is, you know, either way.
That's fine.
Yeah. The next one is park security lighting. It's on that same year for Waterworks and Conrad. I understand the Conrad one, but Waterworks, we put the gate up to lock it at night, and we need some lighting, but is that real extensive lighting? Because we don't really want people in there at night, right?
Yeah, we do. The police department locks the gates. Excuse me, and opens them.
Do we have some lights down there? We have a little bit?
Very minimal.
Okay.
This would be solar LED lights similar to what we have around Bear Park.
Okay, because I would think mostly at Bear or Conrad would be important, but a little bit down there.
Quite a few people walk down during the evening, though.
They're not supposed to be in there now. 'Cause we have
After
the
11
gate.
o'clock. But they do.
So, I was
Well,
just
the
thinking
lights
now
may
that-
deter that, too.
Now that we shut it, yeah. All right, and that was it on the thing. Does anybody have any questions on that?
I have a question about the trails. So I was walking at the battlefields the other day by Fallen Timbers Mall, and they don't use asphalt for their walking trails. They use like an aggregate, a stone aggregate, right? Familiar with that?
A lot of time. Metro, they do too as well.
Yeah,
Some areas.
Okay, must be less expensive to maintain, and what would it take to convert our trails to that? Because you can jog on it, you can ride bikes on it, you can do everything you want
It's
on it.
actually a step backwards, right? Metro
Yep.
Parks use that, and then they asphalt. You know, parts of their paths are.
The towpath,
that,
yeah, a
but
lot of
then-
their towpath.
Then when they get enough usage in a path, then they asphalt it.
Yeah.
It's like the step before.
Most of the path within the park itself is asphalt, but then as you get further out on towpath, it goes to the
Right, the
gravel.
towpath
Yeah.
goes to gravel.
But Waterville doesn't get the traffic that the Metro Parks paths do. I mean, I don't know, I'm just throwing it out.
But to answer your
It's expensive to
question,
maintain these.
you'd have to rip the asphalt out,
Yeah.
basically
Yeah.
start all over again.
Yeah,
Maybe on the new, we did discuss it even in the newer park coming on.
The newer
We're
park
gonna
we're
look
talking
at
about.
different
Yes.
options down there, for sure.
Yeah, the best one to view is the Woodlands Park in Perrysburg. It's all
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
the stone.
Yep.
And very effective. It's been there 25, 30 years. They've had great luck.
That is a good
Long
example
time.
of one.
Yeah.
Woodlands. So maybe for Parks and Rec, Barb,
Okay.
we'll write that down. Yeah. Anything else down that way? All right, I know you're having fun. One more I like. Water capital.
Loads.
There's a 2023, it's page 46, Ken. There's a combo vector jet truck.
Yeah,
Is
what
that
is
our,
that?
is that our camera truck that we have had? The one that has the camera? And, or is that different?
Vector.
46.
That's a jet truck.
So does it have, it doesn't, that's a totally different one than the one that takes a picture of the,
Right.
Correct. That is jet truck.
and what does that one do?
It's a combination truck.
Okay. And we only have one of those, right,
We only have one, and
okay,
it's it'll be 25 years old.
in that year?
Very hard to get parts for anymore.
Isn't this the one that was
Okay.
broken down for a while?
It was.
Yeah.
And what's the other one, the camera truck, that's, we haven't replaced that one. That probably has another name, but when we first got it in the early 2000s, that was a really
Sewer
big
truck?
deal. It shoots pictures down in the, they can see down in the lines.
Oh, the camera truck.
Yeah.
Yeah, we still have that.
Okay.
Yeah.
That one's,
It's still in pretty good shape.
well, I'm thinking that one's not inexpensive. I know people borrow
Yeah.
that.
We just upgraded the software in that too, not too long ago, so it's pretty current.
But this is a big deal, so this one is split out in the different departments. I just grabbed it on that page, but the total cost for that one's $375,000.
Correct.
Wow. That's huge.
But if it locates water main breaks.
That's one of the
Yeah.
most.
We use it for hydro excavating as well.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
guess
And I was trying
I'll
to
put in my
differentiate.
plug for that. That's one of the most useful tools
Yes.
that any
ever have.
municipality could ever need. It's,
You don't wanna go
you
without
unplug
it.
sewers with it, you find buried valves,
You name it.
it's just indispensable, and if you want, you go to a town that doesn't have one, it's, a sewer clogs up and, half of the subdivision's out of service, and, they have to call someone to come in and unplug it, and they're just kind of invaluable, they really are. And it is expensive, but it's necessary, and as Mr. Blair said, they get to a certain age and you can't get parts. It's kind of like a fire truck. You can't
Pretty
get
much.
parts for them anymore and things like that. But
Is that something you use like every day?
Not every day, but quite often. We used it today.
Did you?
Up at the point of Michigan Avenue, yeah, we had a water line leak in the service, coming out of the main. And we were able to hydro excavate it for the most part, with very little damage to the yard, so it helps in that respect as well.
Okay. And the only thing it doesn't do is the pictures. The other one actually takes the.
The other one,
photos down.
camera truck takes the pictures, yes.
Alright. Anything else? Going once, twice?
I just wondered, Ken, do you have any, with the cold weather last week, any issues pop up, water breaks?
No, we had minimal problems. We did have an issue in the clock tower. We had a line freeze up. I think one of the restrooms, I can't remember which one it was, we had a problem. That was about it.
We didn't have any.
We didn't have anybody freeze up as far as residents, as far as we know, anyway.
We didn't have any big breaks in the minus
No.
35.
You know, they started coming after it got warm.
Oh, you did have some?
A couple of them.
South River there.
Yeah, right down by your place.
So the Mommy Municipal Building had a break happen that day, that Thursday, and it was cold. And the
No, the
water
clock tower.
was-
Oh,
It was
Mommy's?
leaking out of their municipal building. It was
Oh,
leaking
really?
down onto the ground. Tons of water, tons.
Wow.
Frozen.
Yeah,
Swanton Nursing Home, they had a bad one too.
Oh, yeah.
That
there's
was
not
really
much you
bad.
can do in that temperature. All right, thank you, unless anybody had any others. All right. That wraps up our 5-year. Do you want to do that one next meeting, unless council has a burning desire tonight? And
Next
getting
meeting's fine.
questions to Mr. Gokenauer regarding fire mostly, and rework that? No complaints there, okay. Next one goes with that ordinance 27-18 is an ordinance adopting the annual appropriations for the municipality of Waterville for the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2019, repealing ordinance number 28-18, declaring emergency. First reading scheduled for December 10th, 2018. Second reading, public hearing was on January 14th. Third reading and legislative action was scheduled January 28th. This is our operating budget, and there's a revised copy that was January 28th. And I will ask if there are any discussion or questions on this. And again, Mr. Gokenauer, that had the pages that we discussed last time with the revision with mostly the roads, but also off the top of my head.
Some debt service.
Some debt service.
25,000 in additional debt service for next year.
So the difference on your page 7A, so due ending balance on the 2019 appropriations, 1.2. And on the other page, 6.
Yeah,
It's,
the original ending balance
Was
that we came up with before we had the actual 2018 numbers and before we incorporated the extra paving, was 1,364,846, and then the ending balance with the paving and the transfers out of the general fund, the projected ending balance would be 1,214,846. So we just wanted to show that if we did spend the extra money, our ending balances for 2019 would be in fairly decent shape.
My question, I know what it was now, and the original one, the expense side was 4175, and then the spending on the revised was 4325. So that's roughly a little over the roads. So the other part was actually the debt,
Correct.
and that was it?
Yeah.
Okay. And then the encumbrance, the balance adjustments on page
Yes.
7.
Yes.
Is the 651,000, is that pretty normal, or was that just a?
That's
Seems
actually
high.
pretty normal.
Okay.
Some years have been more, and the majority of that comes from our projects that we haven't been able to complete. The Michigan Avenue water line,
Not
Phase
closed
2,
down.
and Dutch Road. Those weren't able to get finished, so that's where the majority of that money is from.
Okay. Any questions on the actual budget, anyone? Anything you need explained?
I just had one question on, John, and this is, every organization is facing this, but the health insurance really is a major part of our payroll budget.
Yep.
And so I wondered how we, if that is reviewed, and we ask for proposals every year, or is it the same, we stick with the same?
Well, we're on the Teamsters contract, and
Everybody's on?
yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so we have to, I guess we don't have to, but I guess in the past, the healthcare for the people that weren't covered by the union contracts were very expensive, and putting those non-union people on the health plan of the unionized people resulted in a significant savings in the past, and I don't have any reason to believe that would be different. We are going to be getting probably an increase. I think it's in the notes that we're expecting an increase in our health insurance. They froze it for the last 2 years, I believe.
You didn't have an increase last year?
No,
Okay.
no. I think we were planning for a 12% increase in medical insurance.
It's kind of high, but if we haven't had an increase,
Right.
probably explains it. Pre-city status, pre-union, we had a very high cost in '02. It was like $425,000 for insurance. So we went and joined like Better Business Bureau and groups where you get an aggregate. We kept the cost, got it a little lower, did a better deal. Then they instituted about '08, I'll get the years wrong, but we instituted employees paying a portion, like a lot of other sectors have had to do, because the cost is so high. And, that's roughly for 40-some employees, so it's pretty significant, that benefit. So we did 5%, 10%, 15%, phased it in over years, and they formed a committee to help pick a plan. They also had different levels of the plan, so you could go with what I'll call the basic up to, I'll call the Cadillac, because obviously you paid more depending what you received. So that's where we stand now. When the union came in, when they negotiated the first one, for some reason Teamsters offered, as they were doing their negotiating, to cover our non-union people. So at the time, that was a savings, but I would say now with the increases, I'd be kind of curious, but I can tell you that without joining some sort of group, when they just straight out did it, when I first came onto council, it was extremely high, and I can't imagine what it would be now, just for my own insurance costs, self-employed. It would be very high, so you would definitely have to be in some kind of consortium of savings. But I would say that you would want to check it occasionally, depending on how the rate goes with the Teamsters deal.
Give you an idea, Village of Holland goes through the Toledo Chamber. I pay $1,805 a month.
For a single?
2 people.
For 2, yeah. And it's actually, for Waterville, to be honest with you, in 15 years, it's stayed right at that, a little bit over, correct me if I'm wrong, but 420,000. I don't know, it's a certain rate. We haven't actually seen a huge spike, but it's been a battle, so. You can see in the back, they have, well, you probably have it
Yeah,
up. They have all
that's-
the employee costs.
20% of the payroll, the total compensation.
Start with the pay and then go across the benefits line, and
looking
you'll
for it
see
here.
it's more than 50% when you total everything in. It's a huge amount. So I would recommend that you keep an eye on it because you may have to see what's out there. Shop around a bit. But again, part of your employees will be covered by the negotiation, so
So we offer different levels of coverage, or does everybody have?
they pick, don't they?
Can they-
Used to be.
No, it's, there's a plan that everyone has the same
same
plan.
plan?
Yep.
Previously, employees had like I don't know how to explain it, but there were a couple different levels they
The
could get.
Teamsters call it Plan 9. I don't know what that means, but that's what it's called.
So when you're we were getting huge increases though, so you want to keep an eye on
Yeah.
how that
Right,
goes.
that's right.
Yeah, but the same problem is existing in the private sector,
it's everywhere,
so
sure.
you're not alone. Yeah.
Right fill everywhere.
I got a question on page 13 on firefighting. Again, it's the conference and training. I just wondered what it went up quite a bit on that line. What OFA, is that a different program they're doing or something? Did you see the 14,560?
I do. I guess I can't remember exactly what that is. Doug, would you,
If not, I can find out later, but it just went up a bit, so I was curious if it was a new training.
I would have to, look into exactly.
That's fine.
What line item that was,
She can just ask
and
me.
figure out where the increase, went on that.
It might be a different program you're doing, so I was just curious what it was.
Are you referring to the conference and training line?
It says firefighters at OFA 4,000, and it's
Okay.
14,560.
I know what you're referring to with that one with the 4,000. OFA is the Ohio Fire Academy. What they did was we set that aside, in case we need to send, a member to the academy to be level 1.
Oh,
To be a level 1 firefighter. So if we hired a full-time person and they weren't level 1, but they were a paramedic, which is the, expensive $12,000 to $13,000 venture,
Right.
we could send them to the academy and get them to be level 1. That was set aside as, an advancement in case we need to send someone there.
I'm not gonna know enough to talk to you about this, but there's some programs, someone was just
You want me to
speaking.
go ahead there?
Yeah, you probably should. There are some, sorry. There are some programs that someone in some other cities I've been visiting was mentioning and how they handle volunteers or part-timers, and some people have to go to school, and then if it'll be different in our case if we hire a full-timer, but, they get reimbursed if they pass.
Sure.
Some of these programs, there might even be programs where it doesn't cost as much, and I don't know what you know about that, but it would be good to find out.
There's actually quite a few programs out there. State Fire School does a lot right here locally at Bowling Green, and it's usually a lot cheaper.
Okay, that's what it was, BG, I think.
Yeah, the way that this was explained is the Ohio Fire Academy will run you from no certs to level 1. It's run a little bit more, I don't know how to put this, more like a boot camp, I guess, more militarily style. The best way I could describe it. So you stay in a dormitory. You're there 24/7 training. So to take a level 1 firefighter from no certs to level 1, as I currently have one firefighter doing at the Village of White House right now in their class. They started in February. They probably will not end till almost fall, because they're doing like one class at a time. When you're talking 250 hours.
So you'll pay for it to be accelerated in that? Okay.
Correct. When you go to the academy, you're in and out in like a month.
Okay,
I mean, because you're there every day.
okay, that's fine. All right, thank you.
Mhm.
All right, I'm on a roll, so page 14. Other contracted services for buildings and grounds, it went up by 30,000. I'm just kind of curious, the 62.5, if there's any area we're outsourcing. It's to note. The 30. And if not, I can get that from you since we're probably not passing that. I'll just mark it. Only because we're talking about outsourcing leaf, snow, and things. I just want to make sure if it was overlapping with anything like that.
Okay, yeah, I'll look at that.
But that's buildings and grounds, so it could be something not related to mowing and things. All right, anybody else? Or have I been asking all the questions? Okay. Just the fire department to note again on page 24, kind of what caught my eye in 2019, because you appropriate the year you're in the capital, it did add up just that 1 year to 255,000. So that's where we could take a little look at how we handle this year, and it's quite a bit if you add all 5 years together. Meaning you might have to spread it out or think a little outside the box.
Big picture.
Yep, prioritize. All right, I don't have any other questions.
And one quick one, Mayor, and that, Ken, the road salt, are we doing all right this year with salt?
Yes, so far.
Good to hear, because some people don't have any extra, they say.
Yeah, we should be good, and we'll probably have surplus, because we're pretty full with new construction now. And we haven't got the old one, and we're working off the new structure.
Anyone else for this evening? All right, we're gonna leave that ordinance sitting there unless anyone has a burning desire tonight.
Nope.
All right, we'll do them both together. Next we have ordinance 2002-19, an ordinance amending municipal zoning map of the city of Waterville to change zoning classification of a certain parcel of land known as 7115 Waterville Monclova Road from A1 agricultural to R1 residence district. Our first reading was January 28th. This is our second reading, February 11th. Our third reading, public hearing, and legislative action is scheduled for February 25th. And Mr. Gokenar, anything new to add?
No.
Any questions, council? Under new business, we have a resolution 03-19, a resolution authorizing the municipal administrator to award a contract to Crestline Paving for the 2019 State Route 64 Urban Paving Project, which we discussed a little bit. Mr. Gokenar, do you have anything to add on that?
We did open bids on February 5th. We had 2 bidders, and the low bidder was Crestline Paving. They've done a lot of work in the area. I don't know if they've done as much here recently, but they have done work in the city, and they are a good company.
Thank you. Any questions?
And then just to confirm, John, this is the one you were talking about, the city
Right.
share is 30,000.
Right. And I know that, we recommended that we put this project in the budget. The reason it's on the agenda is ODOT has a timetable that we have to stick to. And we had to open bids on February 5th, 2019 to stay on their schedule. And that's why we did what we did. And I guess if council doesn't want to go ahead with the project, then that's up to you. But that's why we're on the schedule with ODOT, and we have to stay on schedule if we want to go ahead with the project.
All right, any other questions? All right, we need a motion.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution 04-19 is a resolution extending the contract with Stevens Disposal and Recycling Service Inc. for solid waste collection, disposal, and recycling. And I believe there are no increases on this one, Mr. Gokenauer. Anything else?
No, I know at the last meeting we discussed this, and council requested that we have a resolution to extend the contract for 1 additional year at no increase in cost, and all these services remain the same.
All right, we would need a motion.
I'll move to approve.
Did we want to ask our question about that, about recycling?
Give me a second.
Okay, keep going.
No, you do a second.
Second.
All right, any questions or
I have a
comments?
question. I have a question.
All right,
So, my understanding is that we're really not recycling. We're just sending the trucks around again, like a second time, picking up the stuff, and it's really going to the same dump. And I understand, is there any federal reason that we're recycling? Is there some kind of a encouragement from the feds for us to do this? Because everything's going to the same place. That we don't have good recycled material. It's not clean, it's not separated right, there's a whole lot of reasons for it. And my understanding is it's all just going to the same dump, so why are we sending them around a second time? We should just stop recycling. I mean, we're paying separate for it. I don't know if it would change the contract or not, but that's my understanding. Maybe I'm crazy. I've been known to be crazy.
I mean, we discussed, that issue with the contractor, and, they have to extend all the services, that they had in the previous contract, and
Right.
that's what they said they would do. They would pick up recycling, and, a while back, the city adopted Lucas County asked the city to look at their solid waste management plan, and it included a component for recycling. It went to the Public Works Committee, and they endorsed it, and we brought it up to council, and council endorsed it. So Lucas County does have a solid waste management plan, and a certain component of the waste in Lucas County has to be recycled, and that's a goal, and whether or not they recycle it when it leaves the city, we hope so, but
So,
if we
Stephen,
changed this, we wouldn't be able to renew it at the same cost.
And I understand. So I guess maybe leave it alone, but in the next negotiation, I would like that discussed, because if it's not going anywhere, why are we wasting our time? And their time and their gas on those big trucks, it just seems silly to me.
are they dropping it at a recycling place? Well, do we know that part? Your question?
I think you'd want to explore the next time with Lucas County, because they are now the conduit for most of the smaller villages to contract. You contract with the county contracts with Stevens, and they supposedly know where it goes and what happens to it.
My understanding is it all goes to the same dump.
Well, I know that there were letters issued to many of the villages that they wouldn't recycle glass, and everybody in Holland about died, and that was no more than 2 months ago. But
So what'd they do?
those have been followed up by Lucas County, and the sanitary engineer is the office to talk to, because they're the ones. And they probably do get some federal, you have a plan.
That's what I'm thinking,
Yeah.
but
I would say it'd be at the county level.
So we have county recycling at Kroger, right? That is our county recycling. And we pay Stevens to go around and get it, but I don't know where they take it.
No, nobody does.
They did say that when we initially signed with them, but I can't remember what they
I
said.
think it's like
There's a-
watching
there's a
laws be
recycling
passed.
center on
The end
State Line
result's
Road.
okay, you don't wanna see it, that and sausage,
Most
so
of it's
I
contaminated.
wouldn't.
Well, as Mary
worry
said,
about
the
this
rate
this
would
time.
probably be different.
Oh, it will
maybe,
be.
Yeah.
I mean, and maybe not, maybe it still costs them the same amount to bring the trucks out here and to drive around. I just think it's silly to have them take a second swipe the way they are if it's not necessary, unless there's some compelling reason to do it.
Well, we can find that out. I mean, we do
Yeah.
ask them for the service. So we
Right,
do.
that's,
Mr. May actually used to live here, who signed the letter. He hasn't moved. I don't think he lives in town anymore, but when he initially came for the business and took it from Waste Management, like they, that's who we had for years, he gave really good explanation. He would probably even come back if you would like.
well. if
What I
we
heard,
can
Mary,
pass
was-
this, I just would like to know if we're
Okay,
wasting
that's fine.
money.
The trouble with the recycling is that it's not all recyclable.
Right.
The things in the containers are not necessarily recyclable, and they don't have people obviously sorting out.
Right, I've
I mean,
seen
I
that
remember
show.
when I know we had trucks that had separate containers and glass went in one, and, and it was all pretty, and now it's just like it all just goes in the same trucks.
Yeah, there actually is a sorting station on State Line Road, between Michigan and Ohio there. But so much that comes in is contaminated, so they just pack it all back up and they take it to the landfill. So it's kind of a joke. Really, it's a feel-good program. Everybody wants to recycle. And the true recyclers go to Kroger.
Right.
When you're recycling
Right.
at the curb,
Well, and
it's all mixed,
there used to
right?
be a market in China, and the tariffs have killed the market, so anybody that was recycling, anybody cannot recycle anything.
Well, we can visit recycling.
There's no money in it.
Right.
There's no money in it.
That's the bottom line.
For tonight, we have a first and a second on our contract. Any
Yeah.
other questions?
I think we can go ahead with,
Okay.
and do it. There's questions I'd like answered eventually about it before we sign another contract.
All right, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Resolution 05-19 is a resolution approving the replat of Waterville Meadows Plat 9 and authorizing the municipal administrator to sign said plat. Mr. Gokenhour?
Okay. The planning commission was taking a look at Waterville Meadows Plat 13, and when they were reviewing Waterville Meadows Plat 13, they noticed there were some errors in the surveying on adjacent Plat 9, and we discussed the issue with the developer, and between the developer, our city law director, the Lucas County engineer, the recommendation to the developer was that they should replat Waterville Meadows Plat 9, lots 166, 167, and 168. It's kind of a minor thing, but on the other hand, if you're, you're doing a plat for the purpose of subdividing land and selling land, and the legal descriptions and things need to be correct, and it's something that this particular developer should take care of, and our understanding is that the original owners own all three of these lots, 166, 167, 168. So the planning commission recommendation was that it be replatted, and that the replat of Plat 9, once it was approved, then they would go ahead and approve Plat 13.
Any questions? If not, we'll take a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Last time for questions. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution 06-19 is a resolution approving the plat of Waterville Meadows, Plat 13, and authorizing the municipal administrator to sign said plat. And this is the one Mr. Gokenauer referred to, their next one, which they have not built on yet. Anything you'd like to add to that?
No.
Okay, so we need a motion.
So moved. Second.
Any questions on this one? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any other information or unscheduled business or budget topics you'd like to talk about? Nope. Need a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?